Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. That's Joe Smith. Burnley 0, Manchester United 1. Bruno Fernandes with the winner. Johnny Evans with the assist. Hannibal Mejbri with the masterclass. Yeah. I mean, it was a nice, professional, solid performance by Manchester United. And that's the first time I've said that since about February.
Yeah, it was a bizarre combination of letting Burnley have all the ball. Yeah. But other than the first sort of 20 minutes, they didn't really make many chances, did they, Burnley? They had those two brilliant chances. One where their attacker got played in behind him. It literally had the whole of the goal to aim at, hit the inside of the post. The ball came back and Reguilon managed to clear it. And then, what was the other chance they had? The other big chance? I can't even think of it now. They had two big chances in like 5 minutes.
They had the header.
And the header. Yeah, and the header.
Onana saved. I expect him to make that save.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, the kid, I think was it Brownhill, should have done a bit better with his header. I thought it was one of those where he's headed it like low and down, but not quite in the corner and not any power in it.
But it was a free header inside our box. And those two chances both happened within about 5 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
And other than that, they didn't really make a lot of chances. Now, there's still a lot of things, if you want to be negative, you can be. They had too much
people
possession.
in the chat. Get involved in the chat, because I'm about to say people are being negative.
Yeah, of course. They're too much possession, they're too much of the ball, I get all that. But part of like the situation United are currently in, some of which is self-imposed, some of which is completely, some of the most obscene luck with injuries I've seen in recent years. Part of the position that we're in is that we don't get to just go everywhere and dominate and control and win games. We're incapable of that at the minute. And winning games is more important than having high possession, because we don't win when we try and do that. We get caught out behind. People like Johnny Evans cannot play a high line, high possession system. He's good on the ball, but he's so slow and his turning circle is so wide that you couldn't play like that. We sort of had to play the way we did, and we limited their chances, and we won the game, and we should have scored another goal, but it was just offside. But you know, it wasn't a great performance, but we had to win.
Do you know what, right? I don't even mind that performance. Everyone's slagging it off, yeah? And there's a lot of people in the chat saying it was rubbish, we were terrible. I think that is a bang-on away-from-home performance. Yes, Burnley is struggling in the bottom of the league or whatever, the joint bottom of the league, and you'd expect Manchester United to win them, but we've been in this rut where we have loss after loss after loss. I think it's 3 successive losses, 3 out of the first 5 Premier League games we've lost. We had a back four that was the most makeshift back four I've seen since we played AC Milan at home in 2007. Yeah, genuinely.
Who was that Carrick and Everett centre back?
It was just like, I think you had O'Shea at like centre back, Gabriel Hines at right back. It was all sorts going on. It was, I can't remember the exact who was where, but it was like everyone was missing, and you just had to put something together. And Kaká tore as a new one. But you look at it today, Johnny Evans, who's 35, is starting a game for Manchester United, and everyone, myself included, is like he shouldn't really be starting. Sergio Reguilon is an emergency left back. I know he's done well, but he is. You can argue Diogo Dalot's probably not always first choice. I think Wan-Bissaka had sort of leapfrogged him. Victor Lindelof wasn't first choice either, and he's probably third or fourth choice centre-back, depending on how you look at it. So you've got all these sort of players coming in, drafted in. You've also got a youngster in Hannibal Mejbri starting. We'll get to him in a minute. Scott McTominay coming for a reason after 2 poor performances. That's because Sofian Amrabat's probably not ready. Eriksen needed a breather. Mount wasn't fit, or he's injured. So it's proper sort of, you know, square pegs in round holes, and youngsters and players that are a bit past it or whatever. And yet, we've won. We've looked pretty comfortable. I don't really think it was back to the wall or anything like that. Like you said, they had a lot of possession. They didn't do a lot with it. It was a great goal. And amongst that win, there was some very good performances. Hannibal, Casemiro, Bruno, Johnny Evans, of course. I think I'm not moaning about that. I'm not going to sit here and go, that was a vintage Manchester United performance, but that was exactly the type of performance you used to get from Sir Alex Ferguson away from home. You'd go there, you'd win 1-0 or something comfortably, not really too much drama, and you'd go away happy with it.
And also, if you can't celebrate United winning, if you can't enjoy United winning a game, then what is there to enjoy? Like, I understand we're not playing our best football, we're not imperious, silky, dominating Manchester United, but we knew that going into the game. It's like the expectation is we're going to be Manchester United in 2008 all of a sudden, and if we're not, then we're shit. We're going through a really tough time at the minute. On and off the field, there is a lot of problems at Manchester United, and in those moments, especially then, you have to suffer through some games like this, where even against a newly promoted side, we don't dominate possession. We don't just completely control it. We knew that we wouldn't. Like, this is the thing. Surely we look at that and go, right, it may only be a small step, but it is a step in the right direction. Let's take another step in the right direction, and another, and another, and another. And hopefully by the time players are back, we can start to have a little bit of momentum. But, let's start. I want to talk about the positives because, United have just won a game of football, and we haven't said that very many times this season. So let's start with one positive, Johnny Evans, who... Yeah.
And we'll get to your comments in a minute. Go on, you talk about Johnny Evans.
You've sort of mentioned it, but he put in a brilliant performance today. Didn't really get done. He was a threat at both ends of the pitch, which I never expected to say. The head for the goal that he scored that was disallowed because Hojlund was interfering with the keeper, which he was in an offside position. A lovely header, controlled, headed it into the ground, what you always say attackers should do, and was a threat from a set piece, which is something that other than Casemiro we don't really seem to have. And then the pass for the goal was, a lot of people have said it, but not massively dissimilar to that Rooney to Van Persie pass. It wasn't quite as quite high level, the finish, but is a similar style of goal. Yeah. It was a fantastic pass over the top by Johnny Evans. Like, he played very well and didn't get exposed. And I think part of that is due to the tactics of, actually, we're not going to just hold the ball in your half. We are going to admit that Burnley are going to have more possession and say, actually, break us down. Yeah. And when we said that, and in the second half, they couldn't.
No, this is the thing. Bowler Speak says, lol, Sir Alex Ferguson performance, yeah. No, you're right. We played Burnley, right, away from home in the Premier League once under Sir Alex Ferguson. Yeah. And you know what the score was?
No.
Burnley won 1-0. So let's not pretend, right, that we always won every single game under Sir Alex Ferguson. My point is, we'd go away from home to games like Charlton, teams like, Barnsley, or teams that are struggling near the bottom, and you'd get a 1-0. You would. I'd go to those games, and you'd be getting, you go away from there thinking, nothing to write home about, nice day out, 1-0 win. It was that kind of game today, where you're not going to go, 10 years from now remembering that 1-0 win at Burnley, but it was a relatively comfortable victory after a season where we've not had a good performance yet this season. No. We haven't. We were poor against Wolves, we got away with it. We were poor against Forest, we were hanging on against 10 men, which was pathetic. We were poor against Spurs and Arsenal and Brighton and Bayern Munich. So I'll take this one today. Anyway, let's get into some of the chats. The Mind Body Live coach says, this is more like it. Considering the team we had out and recent results, we were never going to turn up and smash them 5-0. 1-0, scrappy win. Take it all day. Dominic Ginley said, that was a hard win. I think it was a proper team performance. Hopefully this pulls them together. Exactly what you were saying. Just having scrambled eggs in Brisbane. Oh, you lucky git. Anthony Dunn, after that match, we proved we win the championship. FPL Mikel says, so many fans have forgotten the many... Thank you. 1-0 wins we had under Sir Alex Ferguson, winning the league with 75 points. This was a proper win considering the circumstances. Danny says, some angry with Ten Hag's selections, like he doesn't have 12 players out, probably rested Garnacho, Martial, etc. for midweek. A squad is bare. Gotta praise the win. Lauren's just messaged me. We saw after the game we had Lauren, and she was saying that Bruno was man of the match, and then it looked like Johnny Evans was carrying it. She said apparently Bruno was man of the match, officially man of the match anyway. I want to talk about Bruno Fernandes because he's got a bit of stick. We're going to get into some of the quotes as well, because we've got quotes I think from the manager, from Johnny Evans. We've got some stats as well we'll get into. Just on that though, what did you make of Bruno Fernandes' performance? Because he's been getting grief this season.
Yeah.
People saying he needs to step up more, he's not been good enough, all the rest of it, he's not a captain. You've got all the usual morons in the media saying that, but I've seen a few United fans saying it as well. What did you make of his performance today?
Well, he won us the game, didn't he? Fundamentally, he won us the game. So already, marks for that. You're getting some points for scoring the winning goal. His work rate is infectious. He didn't have his most creative, most brilliant game, but he played some good balls. There was a lovely time where he was on the edge of the box and he was sort of running into trouble, and over in the corner of his eye, you could see Hojlund waiting, and he sort of hooked the ball back into his path. Hojlund had the shot blocked, but he had a free shot inside the 18-yard box because of the vision from Bruno Fernandes. It wasn't his best ever performance, but he played well. And that's all you can ask for. Not every game has to be world class. Not every game is amazing, but he did well. And just looking at a couple of stats, so Bruno was second in terms of chances created for United. He had more shots than anyone else for United. He had equal most crosses as well for Manchester United. He's getting the ball in there. And also, the other crucial thing with Bruno Fernandes, behind Scott McTominay, he had the second most ball recoveries, 8, which was, like I said, the second most of anyone on the pitch. So he's not just scoring the winning goal, creating chances, but also he's getting the ball back more than pretty much anyone for Manchester United. He does so much on the pitch, most interceptions as well. He just does so much, and I think people just sort of underestimate it because, well, if he's not scoring 30 goals and getting 20 assists, then he's not as good as he used to be, so he must be shit. But he's not. And he, like I said, fundamentally, he won us the game. So I think he had a good game.
No, I agree. I think he did. I think, he won us the game, got man of the match. What more do you need? Like, what's your metric here? If you want to say, it wasn't actually a good performance by Bruno Fernandes. Listen, I'll say that all day long. At the end of every game, if someone's getting man of the match and a goal, then they're doing something right. Do you know what I mean? Let's talk about Johnny Evans, because before the game, there was a little mini meltdown from United fans, and I'll include myself in that. Johnny Evans starting. Last time I saw him in the flesh was against Wrexham, and he looked woeful. Tonight, I thought he was absolutely superb. Bruno actually gave his man of the match award to Johnny Evans, which says it all, really. Good assist. Unlucky with the goal that he was chalked off because it's nothing to do with him. He finished it well with his header. It was just Rasmus Hojlund who'd obviously infringed on the keeper. But I think the thing with Johnny Evans tonight, right? When Phil Jones came back for the Wolves game, me and Steve were talking about this on the brew last night, and Phil Jones came back for the Wolves game, and he did okay, but because everyone expected him to be abysmal, because he did all right, then that got elevated to he was magnificent, he was amazing, he was all this other stuff, and he weren't. He was okay. It was an okay performance against Wolves at home. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those. I thought Johnny Evans today was better than okay.
He was.
I thought he was very, very good. I genuinely thought. Comfortable on the ball, picking out passes, marshalled the defence well. Him and Regulon early doors, you could see him talking to him. They were getting understanding going. I thought it was a very, very good performance from Johnny Evans. It was like an 8 out of 10 performance, genuinely. And I think those performances by defenders this season have been lacking. And I actually think that's probably, you could argue, that's our best performance by defender this season. I don't think there's anyone else that springs to mind.
And just some stats to back that up. The most passes of any United player. He also had the most interceptions, the most tackles, the most clearances, the most headed clearances, the most aerial duels won. He also was fouled the most, so that, allowing pressure to be alleviated there by being fouled. I know you don't go out your way to get fouled, but he was involved a lot. And he literally controlled the game for United. If anyone did, he did. Like I said, most passes, him and Lindelof, there was only 3 splitting them. But the next highest was Casemiro, with half as many passes as Johnny Evans behind him and Lindelof. So, it's not as though he didn't make a fool of himself. He was the most involved Manchester United player. And to have those stats as well where he's just, controlling things, getting the ball back, like I said, 8 out of 8 clearances, 4 out of 4 headed clearances. It's just a very good performance from him, and it's not, like you said, it's not a case of, he's all right. He was actually good, and I think that's worth remembering, that there's still a player in there. I don't, ideally, despite that, want to see him starting every week. I hope we can get to a point where he isn't, but it's good to know that in certain situations, there is still a player there, because after that Wrexham game, after the cameo against Arsenal, a few people, myself included, I'll admit it, we're starting to think there isn't a player there anymore. And maybe he shouldn't be playing at this level and all the time, but he's still got something to offer on the right occasion, which is good to know.
I think that you can pinpoint his resurgence back to when we met him in San Diego, and Steve and Macca spoke to him. I think they gave him the confidence boost he needed, the belief he needed.
I spoke to him as well.
You, Steve, and Macca, you all spoke to him, just you didn't geg on the photo with him. And you gave him the belief that he needed, that he realised, actually, I am good enough. And we saw that tonight, so well done.
Thanks,
you smashed it there, bro. I'm proud of you.
Should we talk Hannibal?
Yeah, just quickly in a couple of chats, and then we'll talk Hannibal. JJS says, much better game in terms of desire. I was more concerned about how many failed 5-yard passes there were when we were on the attack. Yeah, it wasn't perfect. I'm not going to pretend that it was, but it was a good performance. Evans has always been about intellectual football, says Moleman92. Evans surprised me today, says Daniel. You're not alone, my brother. Random DNA says, Hojlund is looking pretty average. Can't recall him doing anything special in his performances so far. Have we been ripped off? Random DNA, I don't like to... I'm not Stephen Howson, right? don't like to slag off people who get involved in the chat and the comments, but I think that is a ridiculous statement. I'm sorry. I thought Rasmus Hojlund did well again today. And I think he's been running himself into the ground. He's been linking up well. He didn't get a goal, but it's not just about did he score? No, well, that means he had a bad game. I thought he had a very, very good performance. And I thought when we did have possession and when we were attacking and when we were getting at Burnley, he was a big part of that. So it's the idea that you question him when we've been ripped off. Also, he's 20 years old. Like, come on, bro. Seriously. Chevy says, how can you say that was a good performance? I think it was. Knight says, how I missed the midfielder run as much as Hannibal tonight. McTominay is a disgrace. Let's talk about Hannibal Mejbri then. Because I thought first half, from the first minute, fantastic. Getting involved, pressing, winning the ball, picking out passes, moving with the ball, sticking his foot in, did very well. I think there was one pass that where he got the possession, counter-attacked, and then he could have played in Bruno. It was a bit of a sort of overhit pass slightly. That was the only thing I think he did wrong. Yeah. I thought in the second half he was quiet at first, but then he came into it and then just in the second half he was a little bit quiet. I thought he wasn't in the first sort of 15 minutes of the second half. Didn't really see him a lot, but he grew and grew and grew in the second half until towards the end of it. He was fantastic. Yeah, he was. I think he has the benefit, doesn't he, of ending the game strongly, which always makes a performance look even better. But he was sort of thrown in there as an emergency again, and he stepped up, and we saw a lot of what I think people who've seen him will know, but people who haven't seen him maybe don't quite understand the type of player that he is, because they see the sort of the reputation of him being slightly petulant. They see the sort of the big hair. They see that he's got his low socks, and they imagine a footballer that's maybe a bit of a luxury player, someone that just wants to turn up and sort of do a little bit on the ball and then give it away and not track back. He's actually a really hard-working, really honest type of footballer who just wants to get stuck in. He's got a good touch, he's got a good pass, he's got a good eye, but his work rate was the thing that really impressed me. We've lacked that in Christian Eriksen, and Eriksen's got a lot of skills and some things that Hannibal obviously doesn't have. But that work rate and the ability to do that for 90 minutes was really refreshing. And from a youngster who's, despite his sort of fame almost, has barely played for United in the grand scheme of things. No. For someone like that in such an important position as well in midfield, he was absolutely excellent today, and it's great to see him getting the chance and then taking that chance as well. Yeah, Rashford getting a little bit of grief. A few people now in the comments saying he's not played well. A lot of people were saying it during the game as well. People accuse me of backing Marcus Rashford no matter what, even though I criticised him quite a lot, especially over the last 18 months. Well, not last 18 months, the season before last, I was very critical. I thought he did all right today. I don't think it was an amazing performance by Marcus Rashford. Well, I'll say that Evans and Hannibal and Bruno and even Casemiro did very well. I thought Rashford was all right. I don't think it was a particular problem tonight, but am I missing something here? What did you make of him? It's just, again, I think people are carrying the reputation of other games through, and sometimes he got the ball and he sort of tripped over it and he didn't go his way, but he's trying stuff and he's trying to go past his man and he's having shots and he's laying people off and he's putting crosses in, and what do you want him to do? Yeah. People expect, because he's got this reputation and he's very famous and he's a big name, people want a sort of world-class performance out of him every single week or every minute of every game. And first of all, he's not that type of player particularly, but he was involved a lot today. We'd pointed at the start before, but he had, what was it? Almost twice as many attacking third passes as the next highest. Hannibal was the next highest. Rashford had the most attacking third passes of any United player. So in terms of being involved in the final third, he was up there with anyone. I just think that it's this. I don't know. I don't really know what it is. I think that people expect something from him. People just don't like him. No, they don't. He's a very hated player. Yeah. For whatever reason,